Hello, this is Shambhavi. Welcome to Satsang. Satsang is an ancient spiritual practice from India. It means being in reality together. I give Satsang live every Wednesday and Sunday night in Portland, Maine. This Dharma talk was recorded during one of our Wednesday night gatherings. Please visit jayakula.org to learn more about the teachings. You can find video satsangs on Jayakula's YouTube channel, and my books are all available on Amazon.com. Much love to you, wherever and however you are. So in this tradition, we say that all of our tensions and karmas, same thing, stem from what's called in Sanskrit anavamala. Anavamala means something, mala means something that binds us, and anava means our sense of being an individual. So anavamala means the binding of our self-concept into that of being an individual. And when I say being an individual, I don't just mean, having a unique individual personality. I mean literally being separate in space, physically, and having, a separate consciousness and feeling separate. So anavamala means our root conviction that we're separate. And this is the root of what we call dualistic karmic vision. Sounds fancy, but it's not really hard to understand. Dualism means two, dual. And when we have the experience that there is more than one thing here, that's dualistic vision. So if I'm having an experience that I'm here and you're there and cushion is there and cup is here, that's dualistic karmic vision. It only becomes karmic vision when we think it's all there is. So it's not like enlightened people are running around, where's my cup? I can't find it because everything is one. Enlightened people still perceive things, and in fact perceive them much more skillfully than we do, with a much more fine-grained and nuanced sense of distinction. But that isn't their base experience. When you pick up a cup, you can have the base experience that you are something separate doing something to an object, or you can just not have that experience. You can just have this experience of one continuous living quality, and the cup is just an aspect of that. Dualistic vision only becomes a tension or something that limits us when what we think is the only reality. Then it binds us. Then it makes us have that experience of being separate and gives rise to all of our other tensions, like the root one, of course, is loneliness, and then aggression and all those other forms of suffering that we have. Loneliness is not a lack of something. Loneliness is not a lack of friends. It's not a lack of lovers. It's not a lack of company. It's a lack of intimacy. We have, in this community, more people probably than most people on the planet that we are interacting with on nearly a daily basis. There are people who have more friends than are in this community, at least judging by their Facebook pages. There are people who know more people than are in this community. I mean, there's about 60 core practitioners in this community, and then other people that sort of come and go. But how many people interact on nearly a daily basis with so many people on such an intimate level? And yet, of course, every one of you suffers from loneliness at some point or another, if not continuously. And this is because you have defined and embodied a definition of loneliness that is only going to be ameliorated, according to you, by you getting some specific external something, some person. For instance, some people define and say to themselves, I won't be lonely anymore when I have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a lover or a wife or a husband or something like that. That's when I'm going to stop being lonely. Or you could be like when I was a little kid. I didn't have that conception. I had the conception of this special friend that I was going to find. The friend who would really fulfill something. Of course, that was God or Guru, but that's not what I called it when I was a kid. I thought it was someone out there, some special person. The one I could really talk to and really communicate with, and with whom there would be no barriers. That's the idea that I had. Maybe we define it as some set of circumstances with people. We have some idea that there's something that will ameliorate that loneliness. And it's something that is going to come to us. Something we are going to get externally in the form of a person or a circumstance. But that is actually false view. The only way that you can alleviate the suffering of loneliness is to open yourself up and start giving in an intimate way. It's not about getting, it's about giving. The people who are most lonely, at least from my perception in this community, are the people who give of themselves the least. And I don't mean the people who are doing the least seva. That's not true at all. I don't mean giving in some sort of, traditional way that we think of giving. I mean the people who are letting other people see them the least. The people who are sharing of themselves in an intimate way the least. Or sharing with other people in a way that is not free-flowing and open and spontaneous. Those are the loneliest people. And then the people who have defined that the end to loneliness for them is going to come only when some specific person or some specific set of circumstances has shown up. That generates loneliness. Absolutely. When you say, like I did when I was a little kid, only when I meet this one spectacular friend am I going to stop being lonely. And I suffered terribly from loneliness. Of course, it just so happened I did meet that one spectacular friend. That was Guru. But I stopped being lonely before that. Because I started opening the doors of myself and letting myself out in any circumstance. Not just in circumstances I predefined as, number one, comfortable. I only feel safe in these particular circumstances, and that's, or safe or comfortable or relaxed or however you want to say it. You've now defined not just the only certain people you need to not feel lonely, but the only certain circumstance you can be relaxed in to start opening the doors and giving of yourself and letting more of yourself out and sharing more of yourself with other people. So you can look like you're sharing and giving, but you're not actually opening the doors. It's all perfunctory, right? So there's people who say very commonly, I have to feel comfortable, I have to feel safe, I have to feel this, I have to feel that before I can open the doors, or so-and-so is the person I feel comfortable around, and I don't feel comfortable around somebody else. And that's why I feel lonely. You feel lonely because you're not just being yourself and letting yourself out to share with other people. Intimacy comes from sharing yourself with other people. Right? That's how you discover intimacy. And I'm just talking about ordinary, which most people don't have even ordinary intimacy, right, in our culture. I'm not talking about like some grand non-dual experience. I'm just talking about being there with other people. And I've actually brought up this situation before in my own life, but not in this context. But when I was teaching at university, And I realized for some reason, I don't know, I was doing practice, I'd been doing practice for years, that I was going to experiment with not performing for my students. And I didn't really have any idea what would happen because, of course, the job of a professor is to get up there and perform. That's what students expect. And that's what the other professors expect. And in fact, I really enjoyed performing. It didn't bother me to get up there and, should be all energetic and charismatic and play that game. But I just decided as a result of my practice to stop doing that. And I really remember the moment when I stopped doing it and what happened. All of a sudden, my students were just there in a way that they hadn't been there from my perspective before. And I remember just looking into their faces and seeing them with this clarity and immediacy that I hadn't experienced before. All of a sudden, we were just there. It was wonderful. And I just went on from there. So stopping that performance of self, because a performance of self can look like you're really interacting, but you're not. You're just prancing around, which is what I was very good at, prancing around. The other thing, besides defining a certain object that's going to resolve your loneliness, or a certain situation where you're comfortable and relaxed and safe and all that stuff, the other huge barrier to you being able to really share yourself is competitiveness. And I would say more than anything else in this community, and perhaps in this culture at large, I'm sure it's not just this community, competitiveness is what is keeping you isolated. And the main reason why you are not just letting it all hang out and really sharing your wealth with other people. And particularly sharing your creativity and sharing your playfulness. Competitiveness strangulates playfulness. Competitiveness, it's like pouring a heap of sawdust on your playfulness. You become dry and boring, right? Nobody is really innately boring, but when you are competitive and you're tightly controlling what comes out of you and tightly controlling what you're sharing with other people, first of all, that just causes tremendous loneliness. And you may tell yourself a story like, I'm not in the right place, I'm not with the right group of people, I'm not this with other people, blah, blah, blah. But really that loneliness is being self-generated out of a sense of measuring yourself and feeling like you're coming up short. Or measuring yourself and feeling like, either superiority or inferiority complexes can cause this same isolation and unwillingness to freely share yourself. And that is really how you get into such a position of loneliness, is by not sharing yourself. And particularly by not sharing your ideas, not sharing your creativity, not sharing your playfulness, not being able to just be in the mix with people and riff with people and go back and forth and really share on that level. A lot of you are extremely tight and watchful and morose, I would say, some of you. Or, if not that, just extremely critical of other people due to your own tensions. So refusing to give of yourself because you're busy criticizing other people. And what do you end up with? You end up with one big poisonous stew of loneliness. That's what you end up with. And you may dress up your loneliness with some feeling of superiority, but it's just dressed up loneliness. That's all it is. Yeah. I sort of did that when I was a kid too. It was like everyone else isn't the friend, when you are willing to just be there with people, sharing yourself freely with anyone, it doesn't have to be a special person. There's 60 people in this community. All of you are unique. I am sharing intimately with every single one of you. That's what we're going for. Universal intimacy, not little controlled, self-defined pockets of intimacy or pseudo-intimacy. And when you're all bound up inside, controlling what's coming out, you're not just not sharing your creativity and playfulness and ideas and intelligence with other people. You're not even realizing it in yourself. All of your energy is just bound up in this very dry, thankless task of controlling what is being expressed by you. So you are just starving your creativity. You're starving your energy out of mostly sheer competitiveness in some form or another. And again, that comes out of the sense of that you're separate and you have to defend and prove and all that kind of stuff. But that's where loneliness comes from. It's not because you're missing anything external. There's nothing that's going to ride in on a charger, of any color or gender and save you. The intimacy that the teacher shows you is the only thing that might be pseudo-external to you that you can feel, but you have to take that and try to find that in yourself. And as I was saying to Matri, there's 60 people in this community you can be intimate with. What makes you think that if you can't be intimate with these 60 people, you're going to be able to be intimate with some dude that you meet on Tinder, I didn't say exactly that, but that was the gist of it. You're not going to dial up somebody that you're magically going to be able to be intimate with if you can't be intimate with these people. So you have to give of yourself. You have to let the doors open. You have to let whatever is in there flow out. And for some of you, that's like opening up an attic that's been locked for decades. It's like creak. Everything up there's all dried out and cobwebby. But clean it out, Take out all the stuff that's been locked away in trunks. Show it to everybody. Invite everybody over for a swap meet. I love to play with words. Everyone knows that. I love to play with ideas. I love to play around creatively. And sometimes I'll start doing that with somebody and I'll just right before my eyes see the person getting very defensive and competitive with me. They won't play with me because they're protecting their little zone, of whatever it is. So anybody that wants to play with me, I have a play date going all the time. Open house play date. I'm going to stop there. Jayakula is a nonprofit community offering opportunities to learn and practice in the direct realization traditions of Trika Shaivism and Dzogchen. We are based in Portland, Maine and Portland, Oregon. Visit jayakula.org to explore more of our offerings.